First, your clear speed. This is a driver condition. It's on the average 98.5. So it's here. This is elite men's average, which includes a professional player, college players, and then some teaching professionals. So still you're at 14, so you have room for improvement. But you're currently here. This is when your speed is normalized to your body height, but it shows a similar deficit here. And then one thing we see here is that overall your swing time is close to 1500 milliseconds. That means 1.5 seconds. This is extremely long. This is elite men's average here. It's because you have really slow backswing. Slow backswing is not a good idea, in short. Okay? You need to have active backswing and then connect the backswing well to the downswing. But when you have slow backswing, then generally what happens is slow, and then you try to actively in the downswing. So you have abrupt transition from backswing to downswing. Then your body has to generate a lot of force in the downswing. But one important principle of human body motion is gradual acceleration, deceleration. So you have to have a smooth acceleration, deceleration. But you go slow and then try to go really rapidly in the downswing. Then you have abrupt transition. That puts a lot of burden on the body and your muscles. Okay? So you need to shorten your swing a lot. So at least it should go close to 900 milliseconds. That means you have to probably speed up, almost twice as fast as what you're currently doing in the backswing. So that's something you have to pay attention to. And then the top view. So this large rectangle shows your swing plane. Your swing plane is outward here by about, on the average, 3.5 degrees. But the standard deviation is 1.5 degrees. That means you have a change in the direction from swing to swing. So for example, this one here is only 1 degree outward, but then this one is a 4.7 degrees outward. So you have a large standard deviation. That means, again, you need to improve your consistency in terms of the direction. Part of it is a slow backswing. When you slow motion in the backswing and then try to hit hard on the way down, it's hard to control the direction. Actually, for the direction control, faster backswing is a lot beneficial. Have you tried fishing with the fishing pole? So when you cast the pole, so your goal is to throw the hook to right that spot. You have the target spot and then try to throw the hook there, right? You are controlling the hook, motion of the hook by using the tension in the string. So you're moving it backward first and then try to throw forward. So in this process, you're building the tension in the string so that the pole motion will directly influence the motion of the hook, right? But if you lose that tension, then what you do here is not well translated to the motion of the hook. So that's why it's important to maintain the tension, the same thing. In the golf swing, backswing is similar to this motion here. With that, you are actually building tension in the body, in your muscles. So when you build a good tension in the backswing, then using that, you can have better direction control. But if you are relaxed in the backswing here and then try to activate your muscles, it's hard to control the motion of the hook, right? So, and then this smaller rectangle here, this is the hand motion plane, which you calculate from the hand path. This is more aligned toward target. But again, this shows a 1.8 degree standard deviation. Again, this changes from swing to swing. So you need to keep the standard deviation below 1 degree. Okay, but it's way over 1 degree here. And then, so now if we look at your actual swing plane, Now let's align everything along the swing plane here. This straight line is your swing plane here, which is calculated from the cleavage motion here. The first, your swing plane is quite steep. It's, the slope is on the average 52.9 degrees, almost 53 degrees. For your height, this is too steep. Your slope should be around 48 degrees for your height. It's quite steep. That means that you're using your arms. And as you can see here, the backswing is not that large. So this is top of backswing. Your club only goes this much. It's not even reaching the horizontal position. Okay, the backswing is too small. Yet your backswing is really slow. If you speed up the backswing, so you should have the feel of throwing the club in the backswing. Throw, then using the momentum, you can let the club go a bit more.
Yeah, it's speeding it up.
Ultimately, you have to use your wrist complex really well in order to generate good speed. But when you have this small backswing here, the restricted backswing, then you will, on the way down, you will not be able to generate enough club speed. So you have to have a bigger backswing. So let the club go more. And then what's happening is usually when you go slowly here and then stop early here, okay, then your body is working as just one unit here, a rigid body here. And then from here, you just try to pull this hard. That's why your swing plane becomes steep like this. But imagine you have a different body parts here. Between the parts, if you have springs, when you have an active motion, then toward the end, these springs will be extended, right? Elongated. Then you, on the way down, you will be able to use those, tension built in the springs. But if you go slow and then just the body stops here, you cannot really extend those springs.
Generate more speed.
So you have to have a fast motion. Using the momentum, you're creating this motion, right? Then at the end, in order to slow this down, the springs should be extended here. So then you have elastic energy that you can utilize on the way down. So what you need to have a larger backswing more than anything, and then also it should be faster in the backswing. And then again, the reason why the swing plane is steeper, the swing plane should pass through around this point here. So it has to go more this way here. You see the right elbow here?
Yeah.
It's passing through this point and then the right elbow here. This is a good slope of the swing plane for you. But your swing plane is passing through the upper trunk here because when you pull the handle down with the hands actively, the club head goes up, then you're creating this steep swing plane. So you don't have time to shallow the club. Okay, so the swing plane is currently about almost 5 degrees steeper than what's typical for your body height. Okay? And then the hand motion plane, usually hand motion plane and then swing plane, in terms of slope, there's about 9 to 10 degree difference. So if you can bring this down to 48, and then still it's like 7 degrees. But you have to stiffen the hand motion plane and then flatten the swing plane. But if your hand travels down a bit more, then naturally the swing plane becomes flatter, your hand motion plane becomes steeper. So, but currently, at the beginning of the downswing, your hands are traveling almost parallel to the swing plane here because you are pulling the handle down. Then it's hard to shallow the club.
Yeah.
So keep dragging the club here. I checked the swing weight of your driver. It's like a D 4.4, which is a bit too high for you. And also, if you look at your initial posture. Let's go back to, let's go to the frontal view here. If you look at initial body posture here, your right shoulder is a lot lower than the left shoulder. And it's because your left hand, you're basically using the strong grip. When your left hand is more holding the club this way here, okay? So if you see the back of the hand more in front of here, naturally your hand has to go this way here. You have to lower the shoulder quite a bit here. So when this happens, your right shoulder is a lot lower than the left shoulder, then you will develop this bend in the spine here. So it's called the lateral bend. And then because you have done this for so long, currently when you are just standing, your right shoulder is lower than the left shoulder. If you look at the shoulder blades, they are not at the same height, but the right side is lower than the left side. It's because of this posture here. So try to move away from the strong grip reasonably. So almost having the image of shaking hands with somebody, shaking hands with your club. More go this way here, and give angle here, then you have less lateral slope here, okay? Or this way instead of holding this way. And then one of the main reasons for developing this strong grip in the junior stage is because the club is too heavy. When club is heavy, the tendency is, and then the junior players are not strong enough, the club is heavy, then generally you are dragging it instead of releasing it. Okay? That's why you cannot use the wrist complex that way. If you feel the head is heavy, another pattern is a short backswing here. Because when the club goes horizontal, then you can feel the heaviness of the club head more, so you tend to shorten the backswing. Then it's a bit easier.
Yeah.
Okay? But when you go flat, then you feel it's heavier. So typically what happens is when you use a relatively heavy club, shorter backswing, so it's because it's easier. But then if you don't have enough backswing here, what happens is you have to drag it on the way down. Particularly when you have really slow backswing, and then the backswing cannot really help much. Because if you connect the backswing to downswing well, that means that if you use the backswing as a counter movement means motion in the opposite direction, right before the main motion. So in golf swing, the main motion is downswing, but backswing is going in the opposite direction, right? So it's called the counter movement. But when you use a counter movement really well and then connect this counter movement to the main motion, you will have really good initial condition for the downswing. But if the backswing is slow, so the counter movement effect is gone, then it's simply you're going to this position here and then try to start the downswing. Instead of using this and then connect it. Most of the human motion, you will see that in bowling, for example, the arm goes back and then throw. Baseball pitchers, they wind up here and then throw. Right? We always have this counter movement. Counter movement is an important principle of human movement. But you have to use the counter movement well so that you can really benefit from it. But if the counter movement is slow and then it's not well connected to the main motion, then you don't really have the benefit of the counter movement. So let it go around. And if you feel your club is a bit heavy, then reduce the extra weight on the club head. Make it a bit lighter so you can freely swing. Okay? When the club is heavy, when you perceive that the club is heavy, then you start dragging it instead of letting it go. So that's something you have to pay attention to. Particularly when you start the golf early, a young age, and then you're using a club a bit heavier than you can handle, then from the early stage, you're developing dragging pattern. So you cannot really let the club head go. Okay? So one thing you need to adjust is the initial setup posture here. It's too much. So more or less holding, shaking hands with the club here. So you're going more this way here, and then you have to keep a little bit angle here.
It's more neutral.
Yeah, then you have less, differential in the shoulder height.
Yeah.
And also try to swing in the opposite direction. So holding it in the left-handed grip and then swing this way. So you have to develop both sides, more balanced way. But currently you're relying on this side too much. Particularly your backswing speed is slow, and then try to swing hard here. So your finished position is you're bending the body quite a bit here.
Yeah.
It's because the backswing is really slow. You try to put a lot of effort in the downswing. Yeah, that just creates this imbalance between your dominant side and non-dominant side here. So on one hand, you have to increase the backswing speed, okay? And then have the feel of really throwing it instead of dragging and then bending the body quite a bit here. On the other hand, intentionally try to do something in the opposite direction. You need to develop both sides. Okay? Going back to the swing plane here again. So when the club head goes a bit more, then naturally you will develop more wrist cock here. You see, when you look at the wrist motion here, that this is a swing plane view. So your arms are rotating this much, but your wrist complex does not have that much wrist cock here.
It's short.
So this is the top here, but your club is still staying far away from the body. And then in the rotational motion, we have something called the moment of inertia. Have you taken any physics class yet?
Inertia.
So moment of inertia is the inertia in the rotational motion. So that's the resistance to rotational acceleration. When the club stays far away from the body, then overall system moment of inertia is large. Then for the same amount of torque you generate, you end up with the smaller angular acceleration, rotational acceleration. So when the club stays away from the body quite a bit like this, it's hard to accelerate rotationally. So in order to accelerate the body fast rotationally, then you have to keep the club closer to the body here. So it's okay with this arm position, it's okay to keep the club here, unless you cast it at the beginning of the downswing. From here, if you turn the body and still keep the club closer to the body and then later let it go, then it's okay. But usually what happens is when people have large backswing, then they use wrist early and then excessive backswing here. On the way down, they have casting motion. That's why excessive backswing is oftentimes not recommended. But this is also the other extreme here. Your wrist does not have enough wrist cock here. So this becomes really inefficient swing motion here. On one hand, you try to rotate the body this much. The shoulder rotates more than 90 degrees. The arms are rotating to this position, but your wrist does not have enough wrist cock. It simply increases the moment of inertia of the body. Then it's hard to accelerate the body rotationally. So it is important to keep the club closer to the body at this stage here. And on the way down, instead of letting it go away, keep it closer to your body for a while and then let it go later.
You want me to keep drag?
You have to maintain the leg and then later let it go. It's called the delayed release. So you don't have enough wrist cock here. And then let's see, center of mass motion here. So in this one, you have a tendency of early shifting, toward the target. Let's see. It's going up. Because the backswing is slow here, you have two-stage backswing here. So let's see, in the backswing up to this point, pretty much rotating here. And then you start moving the body before the downswing starts here. So the backswing is now well connected to the downswing. And because your backswing is slow, the upper graph here is the motion of the whole body center of mass. Okay? So it's moving away, and then normally it has to go up this way and then diagonally down here. But from here, it's moving toward the target. That means that because your motion is slow, your body doesn't know what to do. So while rotating slowly, your body already started moving toward the target early.
And this is all because of the slow backswing.
The slow backswing causes a lot of issues. So if you change the backswing speed, you can change a lot of things automatically. So, in the downswing, you see different symptoms, but sometimes the causes are in the backswing. So if you just work on the symptoms, like when you have a headache, you can certainly suppress it for a while using a painkiller, right? But then if you have a major problem in the body, then in 2 hours, 3 hours, the pain comes back. When you work on the symptoms, you keep doing this. But if you eliminate the main cause of the headache, in my case, when I have a stomach problem, then I always have a headache. So if I take medication to treat the stomach problem, then the headache goes away. So you have to always work on the cause of the problem. But in this one, because your motion is slow, and then you already sort of shifting the body toward the target here. But again, when you speed up the backswing, that this will change automatically. And the pelvis also goes slightly away, and it keeps moving toward the target while it's moving downward. This is pelvis center of mass motion. But your body slides quite a bit there. So near the impact here, you will see that your foot is your instep is leaving the ground too much, so your foot goes like this. It's because you're sliding too much. Yeah. And when you have a reasonable shift this way here, and then kick the ground and standing here, then the foot will just roll a little bit. So it's called the inversion of the foot, but it goes like this. But if you slide the pelvis too much, then what happens is you cannot extend the knee that well, lead knee, and then basically you're going to this position instead of kick and stand. So that's the sign of too much slide. It's because your backswing is slow and you try to do a lot of things. In the downswing, you are sliding the pelvis quite a bit. Your body is bent like this. And also the foot moves because your ankle cannot resist this because you're sliding too much. And then the pelvis motion. So the upper one shows the translational motion of the pelvis. So it shows the red line is a forward-backward motion of the pelvis center of mass. The green line is a toward and away motion, and the blue is an up and down motion. The lower graph shows rotational motion. The red line shows a pelvis rotation. So during the backswing, pelvis rotates rightward, right? So this much here. And then this is impact position here. So you see the pelvis rotates more at impact because you have bias in the downswing. Slow backswing, and then try to slide the pelvis quite a bit. So this shows more rotated position at impact than this one here. And then the green line shows toward the away motion. So initially you are moving away to this point here, and then moving toward the target. But this is end of pelvis rotation, when the pelvis rotation is completed in the backswing here. So pelvis rotation is completed here at this point. Your pelvis is already shifted to the target more than the initial position here. This is a bit too much. So up to this point, you are simply returning to the initial position and then start moving toward the target. But it's already shifted more relative to the initial position. It's shifted more toward the target. That means you are introducing early shift because you have to shift your pelvis quite a bit. And it's called the pelvis slide. You're sliding pelvis quite a bit. See, you're down here, and then by the time you reach this position, pelvis is slided quite a bit toward the target here. And then at impact, this is impact, your pelvis is open a lot more than this position here. So these should be reasonably balanced here. So you are rotating this way, similar to elite man's average, but on this side here, you're rotating more than the elite man's average. That's what I see here. And the X factor, this is separation between the hip line and the shoulder line here. This is okay. This shows a continuous separation all the way here. And then, so this is the most separation between the hip line and shoulder line. So this is elite man's average. This pattern is okay. Now, kinematic sequence. Here we will see something interesting. The backswing sequence is determined by the timing of the peak angular velocities. Okay, so the red line is the pelvis. Pelvis reaches peak angular velocity about here. Here, and then the thorax is about here, shoulders about here. This is the arms, the club here. And then these peaks are too early here. It's because your backswing is slow. When you have faster backswing, then obviously this will be sort of squeezed, right? But still, the pelvis peak angular velocity, the pelvis, thorax, and then shoulder, these should happen pretty much in the middle of the backswing. So you have to delay these peaks here. So you have an early, quick motion, and a really slow motion from that point on. So that's what I see. And then this here shows the transition sequence here. So the pelvis, thorax, shoulders, these arms, and then the club here. The gap here is a bit narrower than these gaps here. But actually, normally, these gaps should be wider than these here. Because the key point in the transition is your sequential transition of the body parts. So when you have a fast motion in the backswing, automatically in the transition, you have well-sequenced transition, and you will have more gaps between these here than these here. Okay? But still, it shows a sequential transition. It's not a problem. When you just increase the backswing speed, then this will be sort of separated more. Okay? Yeah. So faster backswing, more than anything, faster backswing. Now, in the downswing, these are the average angular velocities. This is for the club, man's average, elite man's average. Your club peak angular velocity is down here. So your club is not rotating as fast as this here. This is the average for the wrist angular velocity, this line here. This has to go up to this level here. And then this is the arms. This line should go up to this point here. So you have a slower rotation of the club, the wrist, and also the arms here. However, this is the pelvis. Your pelvis angular velocity is faster than man's average here. And then this is shoulders here. Your shoulder angular velocity is faster than the man's average. In other words, you are rotating the body faster than normal. But the main thing is the motion of the arms, the wrist, and the club. These are a lot slower than the man's average.
Slow.
You have exaggerated body motion, so your body rotates faster. However, what's important is ultimately the angular velocity of the club. For that, you have to have a good wrist motion here. But you don't have enough wrist cock in the backswing to start with. Okay? Then you already have disadvantage there. So you need to have a more wrist cock here. And on the way down, keep it close to the body for a while, and then later let it go. Then this will go up quite a bit. This will go up quite a bit.
Bulge faster.
And yeah, and also when you have a good wrist motion, then the body slows down more. The pelvis motion here, in order to slow down the pelvis, you have to use the lead leg well. When you push the ground well with the lead leg, then you're activating these muscles, the muscles around the left hip. This will slow down the pelvis. So yeah, you tend to rotate the pelvis and the trunk. You tend to rotate the trunk faster than normal, but your arms, the wrist, and the club angular velocity are a lot lower than man's average. Because you have exaggerated body motion, you have tendency of dragging to a certain extent. And another aspect is if we look at this on the swing plane here, look at this in here. Your elbow is coming in too much here. Too much. You keep dragging. So actually what should happen is you have to generate good speed here, and then coming down here, and then you have to just throw this. But you keep dragging here because elbow is in too much here. That means you are dragging. And then also, after that, you are letting the club a bit too early here. So now around the impact here, this is if you look at the lead arm and the club here, you have a smaller angle on this side than this side here. So normally what should happen is so in the driver condition, the impact occurs about here, right? So when you come down and they hit here, still your hands are leading the club head a little bit at impact here. So you have to assume this position here. So the club will appear, it's a sort of a vertical here, but your hands are on this side here. But in your case, drag here and then you're letting this go a bit early here. So instead, keep the club closer to the body, bring this down here, and then later you have to let it go and then here. That's the wrist motion near the impact. So you're just losing the club here. You see, now it's quickly catching up here. So you have this motion. And then this is when the club becomes a vertical, and then you see exaggerated body posture here. So your follow-through motion is exaggerated. Your hands are higher than your left shoulder at this point here. That means you're turning quite a bit here. So that puts a burden on the body. So when we are maintaining the axis here and then turning this much, then you have excessive range of motion here, and then it puts a lot of burden here. So you have to activate everything early in the downswing here, early on in the downswing, while keeping the club close to the body. So you have to put more emphasis on this side than in the follow-through. Okay? And then let's see how you are interacting with the ground. So this is frontal view here. We have 3 graphs. The middle one is the amount of forces acting on your body from the ground.
Pressure plate.
Yeah, so these 2 are called the ground reaction forces. And then this is the sum of these 2 here, combined force. So the red line shows the combined force. Blue is the force acting on your trail side. And then the green is the force acting on the lead side here. At the beginning of the backswing here, you have a similar amount of forces here. But actually, at the beginning of the backswing, you should have more force acting on the lead side.
The driver.
What that means is it's not coming from the body posture, but your active action here. So when you use the lead leg actively at the beginning of the backswing, and then start the backswing actively here, you're pushing the ground with the lead leg. That's why at the beginning of the backswing, you should have more force on the lead leg. So that's an indicator of how active your backswing is. But if you're just standing there here, equally distributing the weight, then you have both forces similar here. And then try to start the change. It's too late. So before the club moves, the beginning of the backswing here, the way we calculate is this is when the club head starts moving. Before the club head moves, you should have already body action. Then start the club, right? So from here, when you have active start of the backswing using the body, then the lead leg is pushing the ground that way, so the more force is acting on the body, on the lead leg. With that, you're starting the backswing. Then your backswing becomes faster.
Faster.
So when you have the intention of speeding up the backswing, then automatically these forces will change. So at the beginning, the green should show more force than the blue. And then, so you have a lot of time from here to this position here.
Very slow.
And here you see the difference in these 2 forces, right? So you have more force now acting on the trail side than the lead side. But the problem is this force is vertical. When you push the ground well with the trail side, then the horizontal component should be strong here. Then this combined force should show inclination here. It should incline toward the target slightly. And also, this point should go more here. Go here, and then it should show inclination here. But it just stays vertical here, and it passes close to the central mass of the body. Now, this graph shows the so-called momentum or lever arm. Imagine this is a wrench, okay? So you are rotating something by holding it and then exerting force here. This is center rotation. Here's where your force is acting. This distance is called the momentum or lever arm, okay? So when you extend this arrow here, then you will see the gap between the red dot and then this arrow here. That's this momentum here, okay? So this graph shows how much gap you have between the force arrow and the center of mass, the red dot here. The longer the better. Because if you multiply the force and the moment arm, this is the amount of torque you generate. So upper graph is the torque you generate. Torque is the cause of rotational acceleration. So in order to rotate fast, in order to accelerate the motion fast, then you must have large torque. But then instead of relying on the force, you can, a better way to do that is relying on the momentum here. But if the momentum is, if the force is up vertical and then it passes close to the center of mass, you have short momentum. So throughout the backswing, you will see that this force remains vertical and it stays close to the center of mass here. And then finally, now it's passing through the center of mass. So zero momentum, zero torque here. And then the force goes to the opposite side. So the direction of torque changes. Up until this point, the torque is clockwise. But from this point on, the torque will act in the counterclockwise direction. Okay? So this is the end of pelvis rotation. When the pelvis rotation is completed here, still it's almost vertical here. So you don't have that much gap here. It's short. And then at the top of backswing, now what we see is that the inclination of the force arrow. Now the force arrow starts inclining toward the target. With that, we have more gap between this arrow and the center of mass here. So the moment time is increasing, yes? And then this is when we have the longest moment time, so the most separation. But this does not stay that long here. It quickly decreases rapidly here.
On that.
So at this point, when the lead arm is parallel to the ground, you need to have a good shift of this point to the lead side here. That means you have to push the ground harder with the lead side. Then the force becomes vertical, but you have momentum here. However, this is not that long here. So at this stage, you should actually have more force generated, and you have to maintain a bit longer momentum here. But momentum is rapidly decreasing here, while the force is increasing. So the momentum pattern and the torque pattern are similar. Your torque increases and then reaches a peak value here, but rapidly decreasing. What matters is the area under the curve here. The area under the curve is called the angular impulse, but you need to maintain large area under the curve. That means this value should be large, but also you have to maintain the torque. But you have a quick increase and then it's quickly coming down here. And then, so this is the maximum force here, maximum ground reaction force. This is slightly delayed because you have emphasis on the downswing, particularly the follow-through motion. Putting a lot of effort in the follow-through does not mean much because the taxi already passed by and then you try to stop it after passing by. And so the peak force should occur about here, a bit earlier. So about here, your lead foot force should be should be maximum here. But your lead foot force is maximum about here, way after that here. This is delayed. So when you connect the backswing well to the downswing, in other words, when you have faster backswing, automatically the timing changes. Slow backswing has everlasting effect on the downswing. Although people say a backswing does not hit the ball, but actually backswing sets the ground for the downswing. So what you do in the backswing affects what you do in the downswing. And particularly this much slow backswing, it has a lasting effect on your downswing. So when you increase the backswing speed, then things change. And essentially, it's a stepping-like action here. When you have an active backswing, you kick the ground, you kick, 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 kick. It's a rhythmic motion here. It's like a stepping motion. So when you take small steps as you swing, then you can make the motion a lot more active. When you have good rhythm automatically, without putting that much effort, you can swing faster because when you have good rhythm, then the moment arms increase. And on this side also, it will stay longer up here. So without putting a lot of effort, additional effort, if you can elongate the moment time, then automatically you have more torque generated. You have faster motion. That's why rhythmic motion is really important. But, yeah. But when you have slow backswing, then you just lose the flow. Earlier, when we were capturing your swings, I was taking your pictures. And the idea was giving you some souvenirs. So pictures like this. So in order to take a picture like this, I have to find the good timing. Because there's a time gap between my hitting the button and then actually the shutter opening. There's a time gap. So I have to find the right timing from your body motion. But because your backswing is so slow, I could not find the timing that well. So after many trial and error, I got some decent pictures, but it was hard to find the right timing because I couldn't really see the rhythm in your motion. When you have good rhythm, then I can easily find the timing and then hit the button. So I can take pictures right away. But it's partially because your backswing is really slow. Okay. And then, again, when you have a faster backswing, then you will have more push here. More push here. Around here, you have more push from the trail side. And then with that, the force goes below the body weight here. This is called the unweighting phase, but you can also have continuous unweighting and then good push on this side here at the right timing here. Okay. Again, slow backswing has a lasting effect on the downswing. When you speed up the backswing, it just gives a lot of positive changes in your swing.
Speed up, I can.
And also when you have faster motion, then because it's moving faster, automatically it goes a bit more here, right? So you have larger backswing. When you have more motion of the club here, the club stays close to the body. On the way down, keep the club close to the body, and then later let it go. Then you have more, you get more from your wrist complex here. Yeah. So the efficiency, this shows efficiency issue here. Your trunk segments are rotating faster than the average, but your arms, wrist, and the club angular velocity are a lot lower than elite man's average. That means you're moving your body a lot, but not really moving the main part here. So golfer's body can be simplified to an inclined axle. The trunk forms an axle here, and the arms and club forms a chain. So a chain is connected to the axle here. Axle is rotating. The chain is rotating around the axle, right? The goal in the golf swing is to rotate the axle fast, by the chain fast, by using the axle motion. But if your axle rotates it faster, but the chain does not rotate that fast, then we're not really, achieving the goal here. So you have to emphasize the motion of the arms, the wrist, and the club here. And then a good starting point is speeding up the backswing, give a bit bigger backswing motion. And from there, you should have the feel of really releasing it. And do you feel the club is a bit heavy for you, or?
I don't think so.
Then you can just, it's a matter of just practicing the wrist motion, and then, developing the idea of releasing the club instead of dragging. Okay? So, okay, any questions? Sorry for giving all these negative aspects, but the swing analysis, the main purpose of swing analysis is to find where you lack.
May I ask you a question? Okay. So you measured his height, his arm length, and some numbers on his grip. Does that height and arm length affect the length of the clubs that he should be using?
The club length, we have not really looked at the club length that much, but so mainly what I'm looking at is the club mass, the swing weight, and then the MOI of the club. When I looked at his numbers, the swing weight is a bit too high for him, 14-year-old. Yeah, D 4.4 is a bit high.
What about his iron?
Iron, his swing weight is about D2, D1 to D2. That one may be better. So you can use a bit lighter extra weight on the head. Okay, play with that. When it's a bit lighter, it's a lot easier to release. The benefit of using the wrist complex well and releasing the club will exceed the benefit of using a heavy club. When you hit the ball with the heavier club, then you can benefit from the mass of the club. But when you have a heavier club, then the angular velocity decreases. So if you can maintain the same angular velocity, then using a heavier club is beneficial because the club will have more momentum. But when you use a heavier club, then the speed decreases. So then we have the trade-off here. So in terms of best combination of club mass and club speed, you need to find that. But for the moment, based on the kinematic sequence information,
Try a little wide.
I think it's a bit too heavy for you.
Oh,
Or it could be just a matter of your swing technique. But so yeah, you have to learn how to release the club. If you can do that, then even with the current one, you can increase the speed a lot more. So obviously, the best is maintain the current club, but increase the club speed. But if it's really difficult to increase the speed with the current club, then you have to go for a lighter club so that you can swing faster.
Do you think it's possible that his backswing speed, if you increase that, then his club
Basically, he will be able to use his muscles better when he has a faster backswing. It's called the stretchy shortening cycle. But
Yeah.
so now, let me ask you this. Why did you choose to have a slow backswing? Is it your choice, or somehow it just naturally happened, or?
I don't know.
Yeah, could be a matter of choice.
It might be just something I did a lot when I was younger and then it kind of stuck.
So as long as you have the intention to speed up backswing, then everything changes.
Okay.
So we need to have a more holistic approach here. You cannot really change the one aspect while maintaining others. It's impossible because all these are interrelated. So then we just change something and then try to change the whole thing more to the positive side.
His pelvic shift to the left that's excessive, is that with 7.65 iron and the driver?
I haven't looked at the iron conditions yet, but generally he will maintain the similar pattern.
So at his age, at 14, he has this kind of out of sync with the body moving faster than the arms. So does he do workout, increase his strength and his deltoid, all that, to increase the arm speed, or do you try to slow down the hip speed to accommodate
Let's
that?
do the arm wrestling here. Try to. Oh, he's stronger than me. That means usually it's not really because the muscles are not strong enough, but it's a matter of how to utilize the.
Training.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of swing technique, I think.
Yeah.
You can change it.
Is it possible that if he increases backswing speed, that the pelvic shift will be better? It's all intertwined. It's all kind of connected.
Yeah. So what happens is when this motion is fast, then your focus later in the backswing is to slow this down here. Yeah. Instead of slow here and then try to move this way, right. Your focus is slowing this down and then just reversing the direction.
So you rather me go fast and down slow.
Fast and then just reverse the direction and then throw, instead of go slow and then because it's slow, you don't get any benefit from the backswing, so you start sliding the body quite a bit here. But when you move fast in the backswing, you feel the tension building in the body, then you know the body is ready. So using that, and you are letting it go. So no need to slide that much in the downswing direction. Yeah, the faster backswing will change a lot of things.
So when you do a faster backswing, is it because you're pushing off the ground with your left foot?
Yeah, it has to come from the leg actions and then go active. It's not the arm-driven backswing. Yeah. So particularly you have to use the lead leg with that start the backswing here, as if you're starting a mower. Have you ever done mowing? Yeah, I pay like $20 to my son for mowing. But so when you start the mower, okay, feel the image of pulling the cord in the diagonal direction here, right? So up this way here. In order to rotate the body, you have to push the ground with the trail leg here. With that, you can create this rotation here. But if you try to do it with your arms here, the body is not doing much. You're just using the arms, and then you are spinning. This is a spinning motion. The reason why the ground reaction force during the backswing, the ground reaction force just stays vertical is because you have a spinning motion here. That's why also the pelvis reaches peak angular velocity early in the backswing using this motion here. Instead, from here, move the shoulder high up here. But now with this posture from the beginning, it's hard to move the shoulder up here. Then what's happening is you naturally spin.
So you spin on neutral.
So you go a bit neutral here, so that you can promote this action here. It's not pulling using the elbow, but turning the shoulders here. In order to turn the shoulder this way, you have to use the trail leg actively. With this throw up here. But then you're starting the backswing with the lead leg first, and then the trail leg is pushing and then developing this torque in the backswing. So you need to generate sufficient torque in the backswing. So the momentum should be longer. You should have more torque generated.
How do you create as much area under the curve on downswing? Like after you do good.
So in the downswing earlier, here at the top of backswing here, the momentum is basically coming from the inclination of the force arrow. So if this force arrow inclines more, then the momentum increases. So the torque becomes larger. And then at this stage here, around here, the force becomes vertical here. In this case, the momentum is determined by how much you shift the center pressure to the lead foot here. So how much force difference between the two. You have to maintain this. But if you go here, you see, as you progress from this position where the lead arm is parallel to the ground, and then 8 is when the club is aligned vertical here. Going from 7 to 8, this force inclines away and the momentum decreases quickly here. It is important to maintain this momentum.
So that you just put a lot of pressure to maintain this.
Just to push the ground hard with this, then you have a ball force on this side. Then the center pressure shifts this way, force will become more vertical. So from 7 to 8, this force will incline away naturally. It's inevitable. But before that, you need to have a good momentum. So up. Before we close this one, let me show you another pattern that will be somewhat different from yours. Okay? That way, I think we can see some other possibilities here. This is Grant Waite. He is a former PGA Tour player. So in this one here, obviously his club head speed is above the men's average here. But the swing plane, along the swing plane here, you will see that there's a good looping motion here. And then on the way down, the swing plane is passing through a midsection of the trunk here. It's flatter than yours, right? So the club head quickly moves toward the swing plane earlier here. And also in the front plane, you will see the size of his backswing here. the club rotates a bit more, right? And then so center of mass pattern here, it moves away and then goes up and then diagonally down and up here. So it's moving up quite a bit to the impact position because he's pushing the ground good with the lead leg here. So when we go to this view here, this is top of backswing. You see the inclination of the force arrow here because he's generating good amount of horizontal force by pushing the ground in the horizontal direction. So you need to increase the horizontal force here. Then you will have more inclination here. In other words, you need to interact with the ground in the horizontal direction. So with the stepping like action, it's easy. If you have a motion like this. So you have to push the ground down and outward, then the force will act this way here. Using this inclination, you're creating good horizontal component here. So in his case, already at the top of action, his moment time is longer than elite man's average maximum. And then, this is when the lead arm is parallel to the ground, the force shifts to the tripod. His stance is wider than yours. And then he's shifting this well, so he maintains good moment time here. And then the force is increasing rapidly here. So from the top of backswing to lead arm parallel, this position, the torque it generates is more than elite man's average maximum. So large area under the curve here. So, and then the timing of peak force is about here, when the club is aligned vertically.
How far does he hit it?
Club head speed is 114, about 115. The men's average is about 110. So he's higher than that. Kinematic sequence here. So this is his wrist peak angular velocity is above man's average. This is club above man's average. So he's generating good arm motion, wrist motion, and then club motion. But in your case, you have exaggerated body motion here. In his case, the main thing is the upper complex motion here. You have to really let it go, swing through, instead of. So you have to let the arms and club go through instead of having this body motion like this. So this shows a different pattern here. And then, so if you go to this one here, this is angular momentum of the body. So green is the body, and then blue is the club. You see, the body reaches angular momentum, peak angular momentum here, and then after that it loses angular momentum quite a bit. But in the same period here, the club gains a lot of angular momentum because his body is slowing down and then transferring the momentum to the club. So then, at impact, if you look at the angular momentum here, this is the body, this is the club, almost a 2-to-1 ratio here. The club has twice as large angular momentum as the body here. Let's go back to yours to see what happens. So this is your peak angular momentum, but your body is not losing much angular momentum here. So the club does not gain much angular momentum here. So it impact, your body and club have very similar angular momentums here. But Grant, what he's doing really well is body slows down and then the club further speeds up. So big portion of the angular momentum in the body is transferred to the club. But in your case, your body does not lose that much angular momentum here. The body keeps moving, rotating fast, but not the chain. The axle is still rotating faster, but not the chain. But the goal here in the golf swing is rotate the chain fast in the end, right?
Holding it, I'm definitely.
So what should happen is, in the first half of downswing, the goal is to develop fast rotation of the body. But in the second half, you slow down your body and then accelerate the club further. Then the key is the wrist motion, wrist complex motion. But if you have a good, maintain good leg here, then you have more room for wrist motion. But you don't have enough wrist cock to start with. And on the way down, when you pull the handle, then the club tends to go up there. So you're creating this steep swing plane. That means you're letting the club go away from your body early on. Then later, you don't have that much room for wrist motion. That's why. So you need to work on this. And then for the wrist motion, the wrist has this motion is called the deviation. This is a flexion, but what's important is this motion here. It's actually happening in the forearm. So this is called there are two bones here. One bone is rolling over another. With that, you have supination, pronation here. With this, you have a large range of motion here, close to 360 degrees here. So you have to use this motion well to generate good club motion here, instead of relying on this motion here. And then you, judging from the way you are moving here, you're going like this, you have this dorsiflexion. Dorsiflexion. This is this is palmar flexion. This is dorsiflexion here. And then when you're starting from here, you're going this way here, you cannot generate good wrist cock here, because you're starting from here and then going to this position. So from here, this way you have enough wrist motion here. And also, if you are here, this is already supinated here, and coming down this way here. With this motion, your elbow is coming in quite a bit here. You're going this way. It's hard to do this motion. When you have a more neutral grip here, on the way down, let it go, and then you give this motion, and then let the club head go, instead of, and then later you try to do this. So the grip is also related to that. Okay? Yep. So, but the bottom line is the outcome, you're not really transferring much momentum to the club.
You're saying there's a lot of potential to increase.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Always the positive side is you have a lot of potential here. But the thing is, you have to change your motion here. More than anything, you have to understand the idea behind all this.